Hey everybody, my name is Paul Liston Jr., aka Boy Green. I'm the New York Jets digital reporter for Heavy.com. We're streaming live simultaneously in 3 different places here. The Heavy on Jets Facebook page, over 20,000 New York Jet fans. My YouTube channel, youtube.com/BoyGreen25. And of course on the Twitter sphere, at BoyGreen25. And baby, the playoff conversation is alive and well for the New York Jets, which we talked about last night on the channel, but new news on the channel as we're wearing our Mike effin White t-shirt. Smack apparel, baby. Booyah. Mike effin White. Wink. So let's get right into it, baby. And feel free, no matter where you're watching right now, to get involved in the comment section. This is a show by the people for the people. If you'd like to get involved on today's show, feel free to jump into the comments on YouTube, Twitter, and what have you. Also on our Facebook page as well. And do your free participation. Like the video. Hit subscribe down below for more juicy New York Jets content, and feel free to get involved with that if you'd like to. Also, the YouTube Super Chat feature is there. If you're feeling in the festive holiday mood, and hope you guys had a happy holidays, by the way, over the weekend. Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Hanukkah. Feel free to get the YouTube Super Chat feature going, which is available to you guys on YouTube to throw a little tip into our tip jar, and we'll give you a huge shout out on the show. With that being said, in case you missed it, here are the deets. Zach Wilson goes from starter to the bench and way down on the bench. He will now be a healthy scratch QB3 moving forward. Mike White has been medically cleared. He is now the starting quarterback for the New York Jets. Joe Flacco is QB2. Chris Drevler potentially in the quote-unquote Taysom Hill role moving forward as that kind of short yardage quarterback. Again, no quote guarantee, according to head coach Robert Saleh, that he will in fact be available. And big news from Robert Saleh that Mike White is not only the starter for Seattle on Sunday, he is the starter for the rest of the season. Robert Saleh made that clear for the rest of the regular season and playoffs, if that's what it includes. This is the first time Robert Saleh has made those kind of statements this season for the New York Jets in terms of that quarterback position. So no more maybe, will he be, this be, that be, any of that conversation. It is now clear he will be the starting quarterback moving forward from that perspective. Barring injury, of course, he will be good to go. Now, this is not perfect for Mike White. The offensive line has been playing like trash. They're not able to create any running game or haven't been. But the fact of the matter is Mike White at least can move the football. He can get rid of the ball quickly. That should help alleviate some of those concerns with the offensive line, just as we saw after the first series. So the first series, Quinton Williams gets a strip sack on Trevor Lawrence, and the Jaguars said, screw this. We're going to get rid of the ball so quick that Quinton will be basically negated because we're getting the ball out of Trevor Lawrence's hand quick. And for the most part, that worked. The Jets will employ a similar strategy. Despite the offensive line issues that have been happening, let's just get the ball. Let's orchestrate it. Let's manufacture some touches where we could get the ball out of his hands very quickly and work from that standpoint. Same thing from a running game perspective is that with Mike White's ability to kind of get the ball moving east and west, that should kind of lighten the box and at least spread the butter thin on the toast, if you will, which should allow some more lane and opportunities for Zonovan Bam Knight to go north and south, get some of those yards up the middle and make some things happen from that perspective. That should be encouraging. And of course, as we mentioned, the New York Jets playoff hopes are alive and well, thanks to a lot of help. Thank you, Miami Dolphins, for losing against the Green Bay Packers. Thank you, New England Patriots. I almost feel like I should do the Jimmy Fallon thing. Thank you, New England Patriots, for losing to the Bengals. Thank you, Miami Dolphins, for losing. Thank you, Raiders. So really anything and everything the Jets needed has happened. Now, of course, the main ingredient that hasn't happened for the New York Jets over the last batch of weeks is simply winning their own games. If the Jets simply handled business in the Jaguars game, the Lions game, the Vikings game, the Bills game. I mean, we could pick a million examples of opportunities that the Jets, simply if they would have taken care of business, they would be firmly in the playoff mix, plus with some tiebreaker help. Unfortunately, as we are all painfully aware, the Jets have lost 4 in a row and 6 of their last 8. Despite all that crap, all that garbaggio, the Jets don't have to think about the past anymore. It doesn't exist, okay? Just neuralize. Men in Black, put the shades on, wipe the slate clean. That is irrelevant. It doesn't matter anymore. This is a 2-game season for the New York Jets. At Seattle, at Miami. You win those 2. and the Patriots lose one of their two, and they play the Dolphins and the Bills in back-to-back games. Dolphins obviously need it. They've lost 4 in a row. The Bills need it for the number 1 seed that they're trying to acquire. So both teams are highly motivated to get something done, to make something happen. The Jets are in firm position to do everything they need to in this game. I will see this. I saw this comment come right in. JE, go Colts, please beat the Chargers. To be honest, JE, we don't need it. We don't need it. Would it be nice if there was a backdoor way for the Jets to get into the playoffs? Sure. But to be honest, if the Chargers win tonight, they punch their ticket to the playoffs. The Ravens already punched their ticket to the playoffs, which means there's really, in all honesty, 1 game remaining. I mean, maybe the Colts can upset the Chargers. I don't know. And then they play a bunch of garbage teams down the stretch. So we will see. But to me, the real path is New England losing one of their next 2, which is very possible, and the Jets winning their own 2. And if they do that, they're in the playoffs. So really, to me, it's these 3 AFC East teams fighting for 1 spot. It's the New England Patriots, it's the Miami Dolphins, and it's the New York Jets fighting for the 1 ticket. Now, I guess technically it is available, JE. Not trying to crush your comment here. I just think, to be honest, the realistic path for the Jets is that in which I just said from that standpoint. But we will see. Again, it's good to be here. Let's go to Chrono Kenny here. I see Teddy Bridgewater might be the better option over Tua, so it could be a good thing because I heard Tua's in concussion protocol. Let me see that. I had not heard that today, but I just jumped from the Jake Asman show over here. Yeah, I'm seeing Adam Schefter saying that this would be the play that seems that Tua banged his head. So once again, yep, NFL protocol. So you guys are all right. His status for this week's game and the Patriots is now in doubt. To be honest, I mean, Tua is the one that lost them the game last week, if we're being candid. So maybe Teddy Bridgewater is even better. But to be honest with you, even if somehow Miami lost and blew this game against New England, we will see what happens. The real point is that the Patriots ain't beating the Bills in the final game of the season, where the Bills are vying for the number 1 overall seed. So to me, whatever. Like, it would be nice for the Dolphins to win this week, and then you just kind of remove the New England Patriots piece off the board. But to be honest, they're not beating the Bills, so I feel pretty confident about that. I mean, the Bills beat the Patriots with a hose, with a rusty wrench. So I don't see it, but very good point to bring up, Jacob. And again, he kind of lost in the game with the 3 picks. Teddy Bridgewater doesn't make a lot of mistakes. Now, he doesn't give you a lot of those exciting splash plays. You're going to have to require a lot of yak, Tyreek Hill, and Jalen Waddle making plays, which, by the way, they did that on Christmas, but we'll kind of see what happens there as well. Ty Pierre, White should be the starter for next year as well. Well, let's see what he does in these 2 games, Ty, to be blunt with you. Again, the opportunity is there for Mike White. If he gets the Jets to the playoffs, we're going to build him a statue, okay? We will build him a gosh darn statue. But let's see what he does. If he blows it, then maybe you'll have some sense of finality. If he excels, we'll see. He is a free agent to be. He can make himself a lot of money over these next 2 games, and he has the chance to be a legend for Jet fans. Again, we have the NFL's active playoff drought with 11 years and counting from that standpoint. So maybe he will be, maybe he should be. They're going to have to do something. The only quarterback under contract for next year is Zach Wilson. So TBD on all of that talk, but potentially. Chrono Kenny, what's poppin', boy Green? I am beautiful, man. We are the day after Christmas. I don't have any radio shows this week, so if any of you were trying to listen to me locally on the Syracuse dial, I am not on the radio this week. We have the week off, but I have a lot of digital Jet stuff to get to. I was just on the Jake Asman show earlier. He's great, so it's great to be on his show. So that was juicy for sure. And then we're on this show, and we'll have a couple others. No Will Parkinson today with the holidays, so those who are looking out for that, we're going to try to have a couple other juicy interviews this week. The Seattle Seahawks preview and a couple other insiders. So keep an eye out on the channel. Again, hit the subscribe button, hit that little bell notification. You'll never miss a video. But no Will today. Robert McNair. Maybe that's why Tua was so bad, that his brain was so concussed that he couldn't throw the ball. Maybe. I guess. I mean, some of those throws were a little weird, for sure. JE, I'm concerned about the O-line, safeties, and linebackers in coverage. Yeah, the offensive line is probably the biggest beef, and there's no magic wand that'll fix it. Linebackers in general, I don't know. CJ Mosley, a Pro Bowler. Quincy's played really well. Quan has played well. Safety's been hit and miss. They sucked at the beginning of the year. They were better in the middle of the year, and then suck again. We suck again, to use the famous line from Waterboy. But so safeties, you'll have to fix that in the offseason. Linebackers, there's a lot of volatility. Quan and Quincy are both free agents to be, and then CJ Mosley, we'll kind of see what happens. The Jets really love him. But in terms of the present, it's the offensive line. But I think Mike White can help a little bit of that with his passing. Chrono Kenny. Tua doesn't make exciting plays either, though, just dumb ones. So let him play us and Teddy play New England. I don't know. I saw a lot of exciting plays on the Christmas game. And again, now maybe he was simply just, maybe he was simply being helped by a lot of the yak. But I'll be honest, I trashed Tua all like heading into the season. But really, outside of the 3 picks, like he's had a great year. Outside of the 3 picks, he had 24 touchdowns to 5 picks and all these big plays to Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. So a lot of credit. I made fun of Tua at the end of the game for sure, but he is really, shut me up for much of this season. So I got to give him a lot of credit there. Let's go to Dane here on our Facebook page. I agree. Let's see what White does these final 2 games before naming him the starter next year. 100%. And to be honest, to be blunt, he's not under contract. So again, all the thoughts of, him being crowned and all this. If he gets us to the playoffs, it's going to be really, really cool. Mr. Bonesy, you and Jake always have good chemistry. Paul bounce off each other well. I'm glad that you say that, Mr. Bonesy. Like I said, I've known Jake for a long time. I joined his very small radio show before it was nationally syndicated. It was just kind of a little show on Long Island. And I joined him off that. That was a lot of fun. Tried to do him a favor and go on that show to talk Jets. And then he's blown up. He's become a superstar. So shout out to him. And yes, one of the things I love the compliments I get, Mr. Bonesy, and this is in the same vein, that when people like watch an interview I do or I'm on someone's show or something, they go, guys, you have great chemistry. That's what I try to make my superpower. And I've never met Jake before in person in my life, or a lot of these people I do interviews with. George Fan, we have that interview on the YouTube channel or whatever. But I try to make it seem like we've got this great chemistry and great relationship. And again, lower guards. That's my superpowers. Try to lower people's guards that we're doing interviews with so we could just have fun. So I try to have as much chemistry with everybody that I can and to try to bring some passion, some electricity. And I love chatting with new people. So Jake's not new, but to the greater sense of like different people and being on different shows. So I appreciate all the support, guys. You guys have been great. Chrono Kenny, Michael Carter II needs to get his head out of his ass. Been terrible last 3 weeks. Yeah, he's another guy that was super sick, super consistent of just like, being that, rock steady guy. There have been moments where he'd been picked on this season in certain bits and pieces, but he would make up for it, like the Pittsburgh Steelers interception that Sauce hooked him up with. Like, there's been a couple. He had the coulda, shoulda, woulda pick 6 in the first New England game. Like, there's been times here and there. But yes, he needs to figure it out. He's supposed to be the guy that's holding the fort down. Let's go to Mr. Bonesy here. Patriots are going to win versus Tua Turndabalova. I love that name that people have been giving him. We need the Chiefs to win versus the Broncos. Keep that heat on the Bills so they have something to play for week 18. That's another good key. And again, they should. Nathaniel Hackett, in case you guys missed it, he was fired. And earlier, the Chiefs were killing the Broncos. Then they made this epic rally in that first matchup. This is the second one, but 100%. You want the Bills to have something to play for. You want all these games to mean something, because if the Chiefs lost, the Bills have the tiebreaker and then could essentially, quote unquote, clinch it if that were to happen. So yes, 100%. We want that to be on. And I don't think the Bills like losing to the Patriots anyway, whether on purpose or not on purpose. But still, to your point, 100%. So we do need that. And we'll see with the Tua potentially up in the air. I actually kind of like Teddy Bridgewater, honestly. And again, can New England take advantage of that? We'll see. Again, obviously with Cincinnati, who's one of the hottest teams in football, they're able to keep them to 22 and be right in the mix. So we'll see. Gyro, root for the Colts tonight. Again, it doesn't have a major implication on the playoff chance. I think Michael Nania had tweeted out the statistics. If they win, the Jets have a 88% chance to make the playoffs. If they win out, if they lose, they have a 92%. So it's somewhat marginal, I guess, better than anything, but that is something interesting. Jets Chaos. Boygrin is chemistry with everybody. Ah, shucks. I appreciate that, Jets Chaos. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I try to bring that to the table. John Fitzpatrick on our Facebook page. Hey, just a thought. You mix White, the passer, with Strevler, the runner, you get the perfect quarterback. And 100%, even if you mix some, I know everyone hates Zach Wilson's guts, but some of the improvisational skills, like his talent with running, if you could combine Mike White, Chris Strevler, and Zach Wilson together, you would have the perfect quarterback. The ability to make the dynamic throws where he can roll them out to the left and fire it out to the right side. That CJ Uzomah touchdown was beautiful against the Lions. That was spectacular. and White's like ability to go through progressions very quickly, Streveler's ability in the run game, which was great, which would give a little bit more life to some of the RPOs because like the defense has to, relatively speaking, roll their eyes when Mike White does RPO. It's like a delayed handoff that you know is going to be a handoff. Like Mike White doesn't really have much mobility. Like he's fine, but he's not like anybody that is quote unquote fleet of foot. So 100%, that would be a nice little mix there. Let's see. Jose Garcia. If Mike White throws for 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, he's our QB. I don't think it's a statistical thing for me, although that just continues to look great. Like he's put up pretty good numbers, 972 passing yards in 3 games, 4 total touchdowns to 2 picks. Like the numbers are pretty good. What I want to see is red zone touchdown percentage needs to go up in the Bills-Vikings game, respectively, in back-to-back weeks before he got hurt. Obviously, in the Bills game, he only got the team into the end zone twice in 2 games. Like that's just not good enough. So the red zone percentages I need to see increase dramatically. Now that's both on White and LaFleur to figure out, getting out of their own head. So I do want to see a little bit of that in terms of that moving forward. But really getting him to the playoffs, I think would change a lot of people's dynamic. And maybe that's not fair, but it is what it is. I mean, that's the situation that he's in. So we need some of that too. On YouTube, Robert McNair. Jets need to create turnovers these next 2 games. I'm going to be honest. In that beginning of the Jaguars game, when they got the immediate strip sack, Quinn Williams got his 12th sack, which, by the way, 6th most in a single season in Jets history, tying Muhammad Wilkerson. Little fun fact for you guys back at home. And immediately got the strip sack. I said, oh, phenomenal. Finally, we got another turnover. Like the Jets only had the C.J. Mosley pick in the Bears game, as really the only turnover over a large period of time. So they need to get turnovers. Sauce, I'd love to see him get a pick 6. I've been predicting it like all year. Finally, getting to see it against Seattle. Geno Smith has been a little turnover prone in the last batch of games. We'll get a full Seahawks preview out later in the week. But yes, turnovers, great short fields for your offense. Help a brother out. That would be huge for sure. Jose Garcia. Flacco, a good backup, not too cold in Seattle this time of year. Yes, for those who missed it. So Mike White is a starter. Joe Flacco is the new backup. Zach Wilson is healthy scratch. So adios, amigo. He's out for probably the rest of the year. So Joe Flacco's the backup. So hopefully we just don't see Joe Flacco, although Mike White with his ribs, by the way, he was cleared by his own doctors and the Jets team doctor. So double clearance there. He looks fantastic and good to go and set to start against Seattle. But hopefully we just don't see Joe Flacco. I would rather not, if I can. Jacob Finnegan. Never judge a quarterback off the worst game or the best game. Mike White could be a franchise quarterback. There seems to be a nice floor, Jacob, with Mike White that really inspires me. That there's just a nice baseline. That there isn't this wild roller coaster where we get kind of these dramatic highs with Zach Wilson, but dramatic lows. Like Mike White is this steadying presence. Now, again, I still mentioned the touchdown percentages need to go up, not just him statistically, like the team offensively. That's where the Jets are going to win and lose games, where some people have had criticisms of Mike White. So that part of it has to increase. But for sure, yeah, Mike White has the capabilities, I would say, without a shadow of a doubt, to be the franchise guy. But we have to see. The one thing that scares me, and I'll be blunt, is sure the red zone percentages, that's something. To me, it's durability. He got beat up in the ribs, which caused him to miss 2 games. You could call that whatever you want. But then last year he got beat up. He had the shoulder thing with Buffalo in the second game, and he had the nerve arm issue. Now, are these just random injuries during random times? Maybe, but I'm just raising it as a thought, as something to consider, because at the end of the day, I mean, you got to stay healthy. What would you do if you're the Jets and Mike White gets you to playoffs and we're all feeling great? We're all feeling groovy, okay? And all of a sudden, we bring back Mike White as the guy next year, and he gets hurt like in the preseason. Then we're like, well, we're boned again. Like, I don't think you can put all your eggs in that basket. You need to have a very consistent backup guy to be ready. Because, again, the durability to me is a question. Again, there is a chance that I will admit that these injuries, both this season and last season, are completely random and they have nothing to do with each other. But in a guy who's only had spot starts this year and spot starts last year, and the commonality is injuries, it's hard for me not to make some level of a durability connection. I hope I'm wrong. I hope he stays healthy. I hope he's great. But I think that's one level of concern to throw out there from that perspective personally. But, different strokes, different folks. Mr. Bonesy again on YouTube. Strevler should be used in short yardage and goal line. I would love to see our percentage number in third and fourth and one runs. I never see us converting those. We don't. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but my eye test that we just friggin' don't. So I would love to incorporate that moving forward. Robert Saleh today said he name dropped Taysom Hill when talking about the Chris Strevler potential usage, which is really cool. But he also seemed to really dismiss the possibility of Strevler being active this week. Because again, it's Mike White starter, Joe Flacco backup, potential for Strevler as this yardage monster, but the problem in short yardage situations. But the problem is twofold. First off, so they're expecting a bunch of injured guys back, so that means less roster flexibility on the bottom to have a third quarterback that you use situationally. So we said it wasn't a quote unquote guarantee that Strevler plays this week. So maybe he's just playing gamesmanship and shooting it down for Seattle not to prepare for, or maybe he's just telling the truth and that there is a very small likelihood that he's available. I hope they do, because again, for me, Michael LaFleur just gets too gosh darn cute. He does stupid jet sweeps or just weird play calls like 3rd and 1. Okay, let me throw a go ball to Elijah Moore. What? Like, I'm all for, the element of surprise. I think that can be used great in life. But in some of these 3rd and 1, 4th and 1s, I think the Jets just get too cute and try to do too much. Like, I wish you would just line up and QB sneak. So many teams have a great level of success. Watch Tom Brady QB sneaks and say, hey, let me do that. And just get that from a consistency standpoint. That's what I'd love to see. Even if you want to do Strevler QB sneak because you want to save Mike White from a durability perspective, fine. But do something. Like, it's just getting crazy. For sure. Jose Garcia. Red Zone is Mike's next learning phase. You got to give Mike a chance. His learning curve is peaking at a slower rate. He's getting there. No, I'm not trying to kill the kid, Mr. Garcia, but I think it's just establishing what we've seen thus far. Yeah, naturally, I believe he will get better in those circumstances. And he's an older player, and he's 27, but he's not 27 in the same way that other people are in terms of a ton of tread on the tires. Obviously, he's been kind of bouncing around the league, so he doesn't have that same level of experience, but he's kind of got experience by age. But that's something he has to figure out. That's a money zone. That's the difference of winning ball games and losing ball games, settling for field goals or scoring touchdowns. And obviously, we saw that in both the Buffalo game and the Vikings game from that perspective. So we have to see where he's going to on that standpoint. Let's go to David here on Facebook. Yep, shaky durability and low passing touchdown percentage. The analytics speak for themselves. Got to go with Jared Goff, Jimmy G, or Derek Carr. Yeah, let's go through a couple of these. A lot of people have been asking about quarterback. Jared Goff is under contract with the Lions for 2 more years. There's a chance he doesn't even reach free agency. That would be a trade thing, and he's played very well for the Lions. Jimmy Garoppolo will be a free agent. Part of his contract renegotiation was he can't be franchise tag. So he will at the very least test the market. And I imagine the Jets will be one of several teams that get the chance to talk to him. Derek Carr also under contract. I'm sure they would be very interested if he was just straight up cut. We'll see if the Raiders even consider doing that. I imagine they could get something via trade and they would look to trade him. So on those 3, I would just say this in terms of power rankings. Boy, I'd probably want Jimmy G, Derek Carr, Jared Goff. Jared Goff would be last. Derek Carr in the middle, Jimmy Garoppolo first. And I'll explain my power rankings. Jimmy Garoppolo first. Again, I'm also concerned with the durability. He's only been healthy 1 year. There's 2019. And they went to the Super Bowl, which is good. But durability, that's a concern. But the fact of the matter is the only thing you'd have to surrender for Jimmy G is money. You wouldn't have to give up draft picks or anything. He's going to reach free agency. So that's good news about Jimmy G. Number 2 on Derek Carr. I think he's put up a lot of video game numbers. It is a little concerning what's happened this season, especially with Devontae Adams and all the talent they have on offense. He's had a lot of these boneheaded completion percentage in terms of those analytics and also turnovers. Those have been weird as well. So, but he's an interesting guy that's had a lot of success in the league. Jared Goff, older guy, probably having one of his better years since the Super Bowl year. He looks really good. I just don't think the Lions are going to move on from him. So that's kind of why I put him that low on the list. But all of those guys are viable. Again, the Jets have to turn over every friggin' rock that they can to get to that standpoint, in my opinion. Charles M. MW could be a franchise quarterback for a team that doesn't mind being in the middle of the pack every year. He is by no means a Super Bowl caliber player. And Charles M., I think this is a great point to bring up for all the Mike White shirters. Again, I'm wearing a Mike FNY t-shirt, okay? Thanks to our good friends at Smack Apparel. It's a cool t-shirt with the wink. I mean, it's great. I'm buying in. I'm all on the hype. It's fun. It's festive. But to your point, Charles M., it depends. I can be swayed, obviously, with how these 2 games go. And if Mike White gets a Jets to playoffs, maybe my mindset changes a bit. But to be honest, how revved is my engine next year? If the Jets' plan at quarterback is Mike White, a random no-name veteran and like a dart throw on day 3 of the draft, or Zach Wilson as the third string. Like, how up am I saying, wow, the Jets are a Super Bowl contender? I don't know. Again, maybe I'm swayed by these next 2 games and maybe some little thing that happens in the playoffs. But, if that guy's Jimmy Garoppolo, it's easier to convince myself. Aaron Rodgers, it's easier to convince myself. Tom Brady, it's easier to convince myself. Mike White, we don't have enough of a sample size to be able to tell. Maybe he is. Maybe he's that diamond in the rough, and he's the guy. And we could play back this tape next year. We all be surprised, but I don't know if I can have that level of conviction. So it's a smart point here by Charles M. Again, we don't know, but maybe he can prove it in the next 2 games. Let's go to Dwayne Neary. Teams played box against the Jets because Wilson was in. With the threat of White pushing the ball down the field, it should loosen up the running game. That's another great point I did not bring up on the Jake Asman show. Again, something else that I mentioned that could help the running game is a quick passing game, which, again, kind of spreads out the defense from a thin perspective, which should open up more lanes in between for Zonovan to run deep. But you bring up an excellent point. On third downs, they were blitzing Zach Wilson every third down because they're like, oh, he does not handle pressure well. And to your point, they stacked up the box and dared Wilson to do stuff, and he didn't. So that's true. So Mike White has been very good in the short and intermediate passing game, and he's had a couple of deep shots as well. Not crazy deep shots like Zach Wilson, but advanced level intermediate throws that threaten on the level of deep. I mean, those are some of the things that should also open up the running game as well. So a very astute observation. There's no question about it. I love that. Strevler, or Charles M. Strevler is a Tim Tebow incarnate. He belongs on the practice squad, and he is on the practice squad. So I think he is a guy that could help out in short yardage situations. I think that's great. But again, for the people that were saying, oh man, can't wait for Chris Strevler to be starting in Seattle, I don't think the Jets would have done that. Now, we don't need to worry about a bunch of scenarios. The Jets could have been eliminated from the playoffs this past weekend. It did not happen. And then Mike White maybe couldn't have been cleared for this game also. So again, if you would have factored all of that stuff in, who knows what the Jets would have done at quarterback. And Robert Saleh says, I don't live in a hypothetical world, so I don't have to answer it, because he was asked kind of that thought, like, what would you have done if not? And he didn't answer it. But who knows? But the people begging for Chris Strevler, I mean, we saw it on Thursday night, and I'll be honest, I was surprised we saw it, because Chris Trevor leapfrogged Joe Flacco and obviously leapfrogged Zach Wilson, who was starting in the game. So, like, us as fans talk about all kinds of crazy crap here on these shows, and you can kind of go, well, man, maybe they would do this. But, like, when they actually did, I'm like, holy flying hoot. They just put Chris Trevor in, this practice squad guy from the preseason. And he was fine. He gave some jolts of life and showed some energy and stuff. But, I mean, once the Jaguars said, oh, this is what this kid does, they kind of bottled it up, and they didn't score points the rest of the way. So take that for what you will. Robert McNair, red zone issue started once team lost Breach. Jets need to run the ball better in the red zone. I think there was problems before that, but I think that's a great pivot point to look at in terms of the effectiveness of running the ball. Michael LaFleur, from an analytical perspective, the offensive coordinator, throws the ball way too much in the red zone. And again, also, when you're throwing it, like, I think they say this on Madden all the time, that, like, if you throw it, 3 things can happen, and 2 of them are bad: incomplete or a pick. The only good thing is a catch. Like, running the ball, I guess you could make some variation of that same kind of statement. But yeah, losing Brees was tough. I will throw this up on the big board from earlier. I got a lot of duh comments from this one, but I kind of liked it personally. When I looked at it, we got a comment from a league executive that spoke to our NFL heavy front office insider, Matt Lombardo, earlier today on Brees Hall, and he dropped this juicy quote. It's also up on our Heavy on Jets Facebook page as well. I'm going to throw this up so you guys can see the clip on, or the little graphic quote on Brees Hall. Here it is. A top Jets executive believes the team would be in a much different position right now if Brees Hall stayed healthy. And I said he ain't wrong. Here is the official quote. You guys can read it again. This was a Jets front office executive on Brees Hall to our heavy sports NFL insider, Matt Lombardo. Brees has it all: size, speed, athletic ability, vision, run skills, hands. If he hadn't gotten hurt, we wouldn't be in this tailspin. And the tailspin, of course, that he's indicating is the Jets have lost 4 in a row and 6 of their last 8. And I'm going to be honest, looks left, looks right. He's right. But of course, injuries did happen. Brees Hall went down. AVT went down. Mekhi Becton went down. I mean, all the offensive tackles that went down. Like, Quinnen went down and missed a game. So, like, there was all kinds of injuries that happened. But you are right that, man, Brees Hall next year is exciting. And we wish we had him this year. Unfortunately, we don't. But they got to figure it out for sure. Let's go, Jose Garcia here. I'll take 7 field goals in time of possession versus Seattle. I would too. I mean, quite frankly, I would take any win. Because again, if you win, you keep yourself alive for the Week 18 game, and you have a chance for win and you're in. Now we had that in 2015, Jets Bills. Jets were win and you're in. Buffalo was simply playing spoiler. They had nothing to play for. In this particular case, there is a very realistic shot that the Jets and Dolphins in Week 18, it's do or die. One playoff spot, 2 teams, they fight. Whoever wins moves on, whoever loses is out, and all that pressure and everything would give me a heart attack. But the fact of the matter is that the Jets would even potentially have a chance at this is spectacular, and I'd much rather be in this position than the other position we've been in for much of the last 11 years, to be honest with you. So I'm excited for that possibility. However, one game at a time. Seattle may be down in the dumps. They're not playing well. Geno Smith isn't playing well for that matter. But the fact of the matter is this: Lumen Field is a hostile environment to play in. The Jets' history in Seattle is not great. We'll dive into that later this week. So for all those reasons. Charles M. Jordan Love. Yes, I will. Well, we'll see. I guess what happens is Mike White story. I will be doing a new series on my YouTube channel after the season is over, the 2023 Jets quarterback carousel, and we'll be talking to insiders from across a variety of teams, the most likely guys that could become Jets, either as free agents or trade targets or what have you. And I plan on diving into each of those quarterback conversations. Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love is one of the top teams on the list to discuss. And I know a lot of people have been on that. We wrote a piece about it because it appeared on the NFL Stock Exchange podcast about Jordan Love potentially being a target for the New York Jets. We talked about that on our article on Heavy on Jets, and it was also on the podcast. So again, we will evaluate all of that stuff, but right now it's the playoffs and everything that's going on. And I will answer, of course, any questions you guys have, but we will have a full series dive of that on my YouTube channel. Again, youtube.com/boygreen25. Like this video, hit subscribe to the channel so you don't miss that exclusive playlist. We'll also do our mock draft Mondays and all that fun stuff. But good comment, Charles. Mr. Bonesy, Mike White is a Berrios touchdown, Michael Carter fumble away from being 3-0. I'm very excited to see what he's got these next 2 games. Win or go home. Sunday can't come sooner. 100%. I'm excited. Also, guys, make sure you are wary because, throughout the season, most of the Jet games have been 1 o'clock. Obviously, we had the one game with Thursday Night Football this week, but because the Jets are going to the West Coast, make sure you adjust your calendars accordingly. The Jets will be playing at 4:05 on Fox against the Seattle Seahawks. So don't, when you're getting ready for your 1 o'clock games, you're like, oh, wow, wait, they play at 4. The Dolphins game is TBD. Again, that's going to be a flex game. That could be Sunday Night Football. That's kind of what I would expect. Or Saturday Night Football, maybe. So keep an eye out for that one. But not a 1 o'clock game on Sunday. That is 4:05 for any of those who are kind of getting ready for that. But to your point, the Berrios touchdown drop against the Vikings, 100%. Michael Carter fumble. The Jets were about to score on that drive. The biggest thing they lost there, and I had it in my notes from a couple weeks ago, is time. They lost time when he fumbled. Bills just chewed up clock. They gave the ball back to the Jets. They didn't have enough time to get another opportunity there. So I am excited. Again, and it's a tough place to be, and it's just a, blunt place to be. That Zach Wilson, I've been one of the biggest Zach Wilson supporters out there. Number 2 overall pick. I saw the hype. I talked to BYU people. I was in love. I fell in love. Like I wasn't initially when the season ended. I thought it was Trevor Lawrence or bust, and obviously the Jets played themselves out of that conversation. So I was like, man, what do you do now? Do you go Jamar Chase, Micah Parsons, all these talented players? Like, okay, you got to go quarterback. Who's the quarterback? Is it Trey Lance, Justin Fields, Zach Wilson? I talked to so many BYU people, BYU coaches, and everything else, and I talked to coaches from all those teams. And Zach Wilson's the one where I'm like, you know what? I think this guy is going to be great. And again, he hasn't been. Just bluntly, he has not been good. He's played very poorly. But I'll tell you that now as we're kind of looking forward here, that like from Thursday Night Football, that was one of the most deflating Jet losses in a long time. I just felt so poorly about the team. I felt so poorly about Zach Wilson. And after the game, I was done with Zach Wilson. I'm like, he's not the guy. At least we have conviction at that standpoint, but he's done. It's over. I hate the Zach Wilson thing. It's over. Got to trade, got to move on. And then it's interesting seeing the other side of the fence, to your point here, Mr. Bonesy, on Mike White, that like Mike White, like I'm wearing the t-shirt. I'm like, oh my gosh, Mike White's playing this Sunday. Like I'm excited. I can't believe that I have this level of excitement for Mike White, but for Zach Wilson, I'm like, ugh, never want to see him again. It just goes to show you the juxtaposition that we've been in this season. Frank Philippus, Mayfield. Yes, Baker Mayfield is a free agent. He could be interesting. And wouldn't that be a wild turn of events? A guy that was the number one overall pick that a lot of Jet fans out there were getting in the Sam Darnold draft year, and they get him in a weird way. Maybe he's a veteran to throw into the mix in terms of the competition. I don't think he would ever be the quote unquote plan, but maybe. Denzel here. Elijah Moore is trash. Whoa, didn't see this take coming. We will need to find another receiver to complement Garrett Wilson in the offseason. Well, I think the Jets are going to move on from Corey Davis. So let's talk about that. I think Corey Davis is getting cut. He's had too many injuries. He's missed 12 out of 32 games, something like that. And he's left 3 others early. So he's missed like 50% of the games. And he's had these embarrassing, inexcusable drops. So I think Garrett Wilson's gone. I don't think Elijah Moore is trash. I'm going to be honest. As soon as we get consistent quarterback play, I think Elijah Moore is going to show that he's just as talented as the guy that we think. So I push back on that. But I think Corey Davis is going to be gone. So you will have to find a new receiver from that standpoint. Jose Garcia, Jimmy G gets hurt with a good O-line. Now, I am a little worried about Jimmy G's health. That's for sure. Frank on the Baker Mayfield spin, 61.5% completion percentage. That's fine. Nothing spectacular. 102 touchdowns, 63 picks. Again, those numbers have always been good. 7.2 yards per throw. I like that. I love it in that 7.5 range. So that's fine. I'd be interested in Mayfield. I like the cut of his jib. We'll see if the Jets would bring him here. Let's see. Prairie Tom Outdoors. Gardner Minshew, maybe. I'm going to be honest. We will have a longer conversation about Gardner Minshew, but I know a lot of Jet fans are on Gardner Minshew for a couple of reasons. First off, he's got a lot of swag. He's got a lot of moxie. He's a very unique personality. If you want to cherry pick stats, his touchdown reception ratio is spectacular. But here's the thing for me. Quick conversation. Couple of things. First off, if he's as good as us all fans say he is, then why has he been a backup forever? Like the Jaguars gave him away, like for a 6th-round pick. They said, Eagles, just take him off our hands. Just take him. And I get it. They have Trevor Lawrence, but why wouldn't you have a really good backup then? So like us as fans are in love with Uncle Rico, but like, why isn't the NFL? That's a weird thing. So like, again, if they all thought he was as good as we do, then why isn't he playing? Why isn't he getting more opportunities? Why is another team not trading for him and making them his starter? So that's the only thing that gives me a little hesitancy, to be honest with you. And also, I don't want the Jets to, what's the most polite way to say this? I need a second. What's the most polite way to say this? I don't want the Jets to kind of bargain shop at quarterback. Like, I believe the Jets are a quarterback away from true contention. Now, I'm not saying the Jets roster is perfect. Obviously, their offensive line has issues. The safeties have issues. So, like, there are several things you could point to on this team, and quarterback consistency, obviously, but, like, there are several things on this team that you can point to and go, there's a lot of good, obviously, but, like, if you identify quarterback as, like, the main thing you need to fix, and then you bargain shop at quarterback, like, why? Like, if that's the thing, then be super aggressive this offseason. Go get your guy. Who is it? Jimmy Garoppolo? Is it Derek Carr? Is it Tom Brady? Is it Aaron Rodgers? I don't know. I don't have the answers to those questions. But whoever your top guy is, like, freaking go chase that guy, especially if you think you can chase something with the current construct of this team. So, again, Gardner Minshew, if he signed, again, we will evaluate it as an option, but like if he is signed, I'd like to hear the pitch because it feels a little bit underwhelming. It feels like you're bargain shopping, to put it lightly. Now, maybe turns around again. This is a freezing cold take video and he ends up being a superstar, but I have my concerns. But an interesting comment, because he is a hot name on social media right now as that. Frank said Mayfield could compete with Mike effing White. And also, I imagine they would take a draft slot, like a day 3 project pick as well. But that could be an interesting competition. I'm intrigued. Let's see. JJ Pavilion. Mike White is the starter. You solid truthers have no more excuses. We better not lose against Seattle coming off 10 days rest. If we lose, fire LaFleur and evaluate Saleh. Good Lord. I will say just quickly, LaFleur, I imagine, gets another year no matter what. I don't think his job will be lost this offseason for a multitude of reasons. First off, the familial connection with Saleh. He's going to give this kid, this young man, every opportunity to work himself out of the rut. So I would be stunned, just straight up shocked if he fired LaFleur at the end of the year. But I guess anything can happen from that standpoint. And Saleh obviously has been the coach of the year running. So enough is said about that. Michael White. Mike White. Any relation? Mike White is QB1 next year. We have our franchise quarterback. Hope you're right. But right now, we don't have him under contract. So obviously, there'll have to be some money exchange here, and that could be determined in the next 2 games, too. Bengus Garcia, our new subscriber. Hey, boy, Green, do you see Wilson as part of next year's plan? I think we get a veteran quarterback, i.e. Brissett, and draft the quarterback, trade Wilson for a second. So Jay Glazer, obviously we did a video on this on Christmas Eve, I do believe. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that on Saturday. Jay Glazer had this report out that the Jets are, quote unquote, expected to move on from Zach Wilson this offseason. And it wasn't speculation, according to Jay Glazer. Like, that was what he had been hearing. The Jets are going to move on. Saleh today speaks to the media, and he is asked about their report. Saleh called that report pure speculation. I will say this. Jay Glazer, respected NFL insider, did his job of investigating and saying what people are telling him. Number 2, of course, Saleh's not going to come out and say, yep, we're moving on. Screw his ass. He's out of here. Who would say that? No one. So everyone's doing their job. To me, my gut says that Zach Wilson, based on the Jay Glazer report, and I respect the hell out of Jay Glazer, I think Zach Wilson gets traded this offseason. The Jets are going to move on to Mike White, some veteran quarterback, somebody, and Zach Wilson's path will no longer be here, personally. And I think he gets traded. Now, a lot of people have varied on the trade package. Is it like a 7th-round pick? Is it like a 4th-round pick? Or, as Mangus here says, is it a second? Sam Darnold went for a 2nd, 4, and a 6. Now, he had 3 years into his career. Zach Wilson only has 2, but I think that actually helps Zach Wilson. I'm not saying you're getting a 1st-round pick for Zach Wilson, but I think you get a relative package. I don't think it's a 7th. I don't think it's a 6th. I don't even think it's a 5th. I think they get multiple picks, like a 2-3-5, a 2-4-5. Like, I think there's something in that realm. Someone's going to take a chance and say, the Jets suck. They're screwing up Zach Wilson. We can fix him, I believe. So I don't believe he's part of next year's plan. Now, if I was making a decision, unless I got a trade that blew my socks off, again, if someone offered me a 7th, I'd say go kick rocks. I would rather just keep Zach Wilson as a 3rd-string developing guy than give him away for a bag of Cheetos. Like, you're going to save some money, but why would I just give him away for nothing? Like, that doesn't make any sense, especially with his rookie contract structure. So to me, if it was up to me, he'd be part of the plan as a 3rd string, unless I'm blown away with an offer. And number 2, I think the combination in that world will be Mike White, like a Jacoby Brissett or Baker Mayfield, as has been suggested. And then you draft a quarterback on day 3, and those 3 quarterbacks are in a room, and you trade Zach Wilson. But we'll see what happens. There's a lot to be said there. That's another one. Eric Weinstein. For all you Strev people out there, if Strev would have led Uzama and Corey didn't drop, you could add 80 yards to his passing total, 3/4, 300 yards passing, 75 yards on the ground. Strev should be our Taysom QB2. Joe Flacco will be. And sometimes it's dangerous to do this level of projecting, Eric, but I get where you're going with this. Yeah, Strev, and here's the thing for me where I talk about the Strev thing. It's not even about Strev leading Uzama. He so underthrew him and almost missed Uzama. Any capable NFL quarterback should have hit Uzama for an 80-yard touchdown in the Thursday night football game. I mean, he was wide open. If Chris was a capable quarterback, you slap the ball and you freaking hit him in stride. And that's not a hard throw to make. I mean, quite frankly, it's backyard football. To me, that told me in that moment that the Strev thing was fun and we all root for it. But there's an obvious limited ceiling to what he's capable of in the NFL. That's what it said to me. He had no pressure around him, just pat the freaking ball and throw it to him. And he's so underthrew him that Uzama had to come back and almost catch a shanked punt. So it was bad. So to me, while you could spin it the other way, saying, oh, if he caught it, then it would have been this. I guess. To me, I see it the other way. I'm like, wolf, he could barely hit that. Obviously, that's what it says out to me. But hey, different strokes, different folks. Charles M. What a fascinating question this is. If Brock Purdy balls out in the playoffs, the 49ers quarterback, would that make Trey Lance a possible trade option next year? Purdy sure does look the part. This is a fascinating question, Charles. I love this question. It really gets my cogs moving. Yeah. What if Mr. Irrelevant balls out in the playoffs, leads him to the NFC Championship game, God forbid, wins the Super Bowl? What the hell do you do with Trey Lance? You can't let Brock Purdy go after that. To me, there could be some sort of Trey Lance, Zach Wilson swap. The 49ers, by the way, just to make this perfectly clear for all the revisionist history people in our audience, Jets overdrafted Zach Wilson. He would have been a 5th-round pick. That's stupid. That is just dumb talk. The Eagles wanted Zach Wilson. The 49ers wanted Zach Wilson. If the Jets didn't take him, both of those franchises would have easily taken Zach Wilson. So just to throw it out there for all you people that say, well, the Jets are dumb. They draft stupid people. Like, whatever, man. Has it worked out? Obviously not. And right now, Zach Wilson is on pace to be one of the worst picks in Jets franchise history, and that's saying something. I've been around. I've got the Vernon Golston jersey in the closet. Okay, people. So, however, there could be an interest of a potential swap. If you just want to swap guys and say, hey, let's figure it out. Number 2 pick for number 3 pick. I don't know if it's straight up. I don't know if it's, I don't know. I don't know what that looks like, but that'd be interesting. Just kind of like 2 disappointing guys in other places. One because of injury and some other things, and like Zach Wilson because of whatever, and just kind of like kind of Pokemon swap. You put the Pokeball in the little trade simulator on the SSN, and floop, okay, there's your Butterfree. There's your Pokemon reference. Hey, I got a tattoo to my arm, people. I got to give you a little Pokemon every once in a while. So that'd be interesting. A Zach Wilson, Trey Lance swap. Give me that. Let's kind of project that out. But yeah, Brock Purdy ball's out. Jimmy Garoppolo is touching free agency. And yeah, Trey Lance would become available. I don't know how you sell that. Of course, you win a Super Bowl, the 49ers make a deep run. That's how you sell it. But the 49ers gave up 3 first-round picks in that deal. That's just a complicated thing. Very complicated. But probably Zach Wilson, Trey Lance swap, something like that. That'd be possible. He'd be available, I would say. Let's see. Let's go to Dwayne Neary. They need to stay ahead of the chains. Enough of these stupid false starts or holdings. Positive yards are put less pressure on the pass game. 100%. The Jets, especially on Thursday night, they just kept shooting themselves in the foot, and all of a sudden drives were destroyed by 1st and 20, 1st and 25, and they do these negative, horrible jet sweeps that lose 5 yards. So you lose the down and yardage, and then all of a sudden it's like impossible to move the ball. So 100%. So stay ahead of the chains and stay ahead on points. Like, we haven't seen enough Jet games recently where the Jets just get on top of a team. Like, 10-0 or something. And then you can kind of, as a defense, you pin your ears back, say, oh, we're going to rush this passer or start running the football or something. Like, you can lean into things both from an offensive standpoint, a defensive standpoint. So get on a team, especially on the road. That's going to be critically important in these 2 road games. Like, do that as well. So it is a combination effect, Wayne. Brian Farrell, boy, Grant, I'm losing my mind. Let's get this done. I'm so excited, man. I hope that's coming across these videos that I'm doing both here and I was doing on the Jake Asman show. Guys, all the crap. This has been a wild freaking season. I mean, wild, where the Jets had like that crazy comeback against the Browns, and then Zach Wilson's doing the gritty in Pittsburgh. We're like, oh man, we're going places, and then we're on this horrible run. I mean, horrid, putrid run recently, where the Jets are just finding ways to lose all these games. And then now to have a chance and Mike White back, and there's some pep in the step. There's some energy in the audience. Like, we haven't been in this position a long time. I hope Jet fans just stop, to quote Ferris Bueller's Day Off, smell the roses every once in a while. Because if you don't, you just might miss it. And I'm just kind of paraphrasing the quote, but you get it. That you just got to enjoy life a little bit. We don't choose the cards we're dealt in life. But what we do choose is how we handle them. And we've been handed a playoff Christmas gift. A chance. The Jets, of course, have to handle their own business for this to mean absolutely anything. However, the fact of the matter that the Jets have this opportunity is godsend. It is divine intervention. I don't know how else to explain it. But you know what? Don't ask questions like, why are the Jets getting this chance? I don't care why. Seize the day. Seize the moment. And that's what I would love to see for the gosh darn New York Jets. I'm excited, man. I'm excited. Let's see. David Jackson, for developmental quarterback, the Jets should just poach a Cowboys practice squad quarterback. Hey, it worked out for Mike White. That'd be a nice one. John O'Sullivan, what free agent quarterbacks do you find acceptable for the Jets? Mayfield, Darnold, Carr, Garoppolo. All right, let's go through a couple. Garoppolo is going to be a free agent. Darnold and Mayfield will be free agents. Carr is under contract. Now, maybe the Raiders end up cutting him from that standpoint. Let's get our NFL free agents quarterbacks for 2023. I want to pull it up on the big board. We can all take a gander at it together of all the guys that are going to be there, and it'll give us market value here from the top. So let's take a gander here. We'll look at, actually, I'll throw this up on the screen so we can all look at this together. This is from Spot Track. let's look at all the quarterbacks together. Who would I take? Okay, we're gonna all look at this together. So we got Tom Brady on the top. I'm gonna be honest. Does Tom Brady really ever come here to the Jets based on his hatred for the organization from the Patriot days, or did we sell him on, hey, you know what? You could give it back to the New England Patriots twice? Intriguing. I'm not gonna lie. I'm intrigued by Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is not a free agent, but you get it. That kind of thing where you just know who these guys are and they come in. So I'm intrigued by Tom Brady. He's on the list. Baker Mayfield as a top option, no. Sam Darnold, would he really come back? I mean, probably not. And would the Jets want him? So probably not there. Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be on the top of the Jets list. The connective tissue, they've got John Benton, they've got Michael LaFleur, they got Robert Saleh. There's so much 49ers Jets connections. And of course, they're going to be in the room with Jimmy Garoppolo. Money and all that will be very interesting. Teddy Bridgewater, again, another guy. Will he come back? When he talked about the Jets earlier this year, he talked about them giving him a second lease on life with his opportunity. So I'd like a Teddy So it depends on what we do. If we bring back Mike White, you're not bringing in a Tom Brady, Jimmy Garoppolo, or Aaron Rodgers in my mind. Those two things are not coexisting because Mike White, again, I would love to be surprised and Mike White comes back for super cheap. To me, it's going to be somewhere in the 10 to 15 million per year range on a minimum 2-year deal, probably a 3-year deal. So we're talking anywhere in the range of 35 to 45 million dollars. Can you invest 35 to 45 million dollars and bring in a Tom Brady for 50 million? No. Aaron Rodgers for 50 million? No. Jimmy Garoppolo for 60 million? No. So I think there's going to have to be a choice there from that perspective, to be honest. Because you bring back Mike White, you're bringing in a lower level veteran to compete with him. A Teddy Bridgewater, a Jacoby Brissett, people of that range. CJ Beathard as a system guy, as I'm looking through this list. A Blaine Gabbert. Like, those are the kind of guys that you're competing with. I don't think it's a legit... Like, if you bring in Tom Brady, it's not a competition. Aaron Rodgers, Jimmy Garoppolo, those aren't competitions, at least in my mind. I think those would be somewhat fake if that was really the case. So, in terms of potential free agent options that I'm intrigued by Tom Brady, of course. I'm intrigued by Jimmy Garoppolo, although they all have their own questions. Is Tom Brady over the hill? Is he sucking because the 49ers or the Buccaneers offensive line is sucking? Is it sucking because he's getting too old? Jimmy Garoppolo, can he ever stay healthy? Like, all these guys are going to have bugaboos. They're going to have some level of questions. Like Jacoby Brissett, that doesn't really titillate my testicles. That doesn't really get me going, so to speak. Like, he's not great, but as a competition for like Mike White, and Mike White Jacoby Brissett battle, maybe I'm intrigued. Like, would Geno Smith come here? Would Jet fans even want Geno Smith here? Like, he's sucking recently, which may make a lot of people say that whatever's happening in Seattle is like, you know, a kind of a feel-good story, but not real. So those are a lot of the guys. Hopefully that answers your question here, John. Those are some of the guys that intrigue me. Again, Carr is intriguing. If he gets straight up cut, is really good. So that would be interesting as well. Mr. Bones, is Tyler Lockett already ruled out for next week? Geno is much better when he's out there. I don't believe he has been, to be honest with you. I think there's an outside hope. Again, we're very early in game week here, so we will continue to get injury reports and things of that nature, but I do not believe he's already been ruled out. There was kind of like an outside shot that he would be able to go. I'm going to jump over to injuries on ESPN real quick just to make sure I didn't miss anything. Tyler Lockett was just out December 26th, so maybe he was already rolled out for this game. Head coach said it looks like Tyler Lockett is out, if I'm reading this correctly. It looks like he was ruled out. If ESPN is right, I'm looking at this in a weird way, so I hate to speak like this, Mr. Bunsey, but it sure does look like it. Let me also double check one more thing to make sure on Tyler Lockett, see if we could get a update on that. Here it is. Tyler Lockett is back with the team. Pete says status still unclear for the Jets game. We'll see where he is. I don't know. That's Pete Carroll 5 hours ago. So I guess it's not official. ESPN had a thing, I guess, from the previous game. So it's unofficial on that standpoint, but probably is up in the air. And to your point, he does play better with Tyler Lockett. So that's good news there. Let's go to this one. Dwayne Neary here again. If we take the game against Seattle and the Dolphins down the Pats, they should flex the Jets-Dolphins game on Sunday night, much like they did last year with Vegas Chargers. The only other one that I think is really in the range is Jaguars-Titans. That's guaranteed to be the AFC South title. So there's a lot of drama there. That's probably the game they're competing with. And this upcoming week doesn't mean anything for either team because guaranteed AFC South is on the line week 18. That's probably the only other game, but they could either get the flex Saturday night game because there's going to be Saturday games that week or Sunday night. I prefer Sunday night. I think the production value is better, and we haven't been on there in 12 years, but we'll see. Jeffrey Mann, I thought postseason hopes were dead, but here we are. That's the best way to describe it. We all thought they were dead, and now they're back, which is fun. Keeps this season interesting. Again, a lot of 2009 vibes where, remember, Rex Ryan came out and said, hey, we lost the Falcons, so playoff hopes are over, even though they really weren't, and they found a back way into the playoffs. So we'll see if that happens. Jim Page, why is Flacco number 2? The simple response is the Jets are kind of done with Zach Wilson at the minimum for this season, if not long term. And Chris Streveler isn't a real quarterback. I hate to kind of crap on all the Strev fans out there, but if Flacco's on the team, he's the number 2, especially with the Zach Wilson thing so up in the air. So I'm not inspired by Joe Flacco by any means, for that matter. I am not inspired by him at all. But to be honest with you, well, just hopefully Joe Flacco's not there. I mean, that's just our gut. That's my gut here. Let's go back to Michael White. Why can't fans give Mike White support like they did with Zach Wilson? Have him start 2023 and see how he does. I think one of the main reasons is Zach Wilson was the number 2 overall pick, so you have emotional investment. Mike White was found off the scrap heap, so there's less investment from that standpoint. And less skin in the game, I guess, is probably the simplest reason. Like my own rationale initially is Zach Wilson. Like even last year when they had the Hall of Fame game, it's like, well, Zach Wilson was the number 2 pick. And maybe that doesn't matter. Like as Saleh said, as soon as you're drafted, you're on the team. Your draft status doesn't matter anymore. It's about who's the best and this or that. But, for me, I think it's draft. Whether Saleh wants to admit it or not, it's easier for the fans. Brian Farrell, when Braden Mann tackled that punt returner, was over. Yeah, they win those 2 random games. Thanks, Adam Gase. So they would have had Trevor Lawrence. And look how great he looks. Jeffrey Mann, pick a quarterback with the first-round pick in 2023. I've had enough of young guys for a while, to be honest with you. So I don't think I want that. Maybe something will change. I'll be honest. Candidly, I watch college football, but I haven't been a big draft guy this year because the Jets have been doing well. When they're doing poorly, I'm diving in earlier on the draft. So I'm speaking out of turn, I would simply say. I'd be a bit naive to say it's completely not an option, but, I'm kind of, from my own personal standpoint, after all the history with young quarterbacks, I'd prefer just a veteran. Let's go to Miguel here. I think it's crazy how everyone is blaming Zach Wilson for the loss. The O-line was a major problem with penalties and ending drives. I think that's true. Again, I don't think Zach Wilson lost on his own. The running game sucked. The offensive line sucked. And the defense kind of got pushed around that 96-yard drive. But Zach Wilson did nothing to inspire you to think like, here we go. And that's the thing for me. Again, I've been Zach Wilson supporting this entire gosh darn time. However, when we got to the Thursday night game and nothing was happening. Of course, the boo birds were raining down, but he did nothing to inspire me at all that entire game to make me go, there he is. And that to me was the final nail in the coffin. Jim Page, we're back from the dead. You're damn right we are. I'll try to go through as many comments as we can here before we sign off for this live stream. Malcolm Harper, love the logo, by the way. Beautiful. Let's take advantage of this golden opportunity. If we lose on Sunday, we don't deserve to get to the playoffs. I think that's the simplest way to put it, Malcolm. And I would have said that, quite frankly, about the losses to Jacksonville, Detroit. After that, we don't deserve it. I mean, we had our chance, we blew it. Now we have another chance. We're like, well, let's see what happens here. So that's interesting. But yeah, let's take advantage. Jose Garcia, I thought we were going to keep Sam when Zach was drafted. NFL is a bigger animal. Reading defense not easy. I did not think so. I think it was one or the other. Like the Jets said, hey, we could keep both. That's super possible. But nah, I don't think that was real. Because, again, the Jets ended up getting a 2nd, 4, and a 6, which helped accelerate the rest of the team. So it's not a real competition. You can't draft someone 3rd overall and draft someone 2nd overall and say, just compete. Because by virtue, the number 2 overall pick is the inside track. You wouldn't have taken someone number 2 overall if the number 3 overall had really any shot. So it's kind of a mind, twist, turn, whatever you want to call it, from that standpoint. Now, for the people that said keep Sam and trade the pick back and go get Jamar Chase, Micah Parsons, whatever, okay, I mean, that could have happened, but the Jets were pretty committed to taking a quarterback after their evaluations. Paul A. Eston Sr. Jets need to get my father, by the way, for those counting at home. Jets need to get a quality quarterback veteran or through the draft before the talent window on this team is closed. I will say the one difference between the Jets of like 2015 when they went 10-6 and they kind of made a run was that it was a veteran laden team. This team has a lot of young core talent, which makes you feel good. Now, I want to say that in the same breath that you don't want to just assume the winning window lasts forever because it never does. But like the Jets back in the day, in like 2008 when they had the 8-3 run, they had 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011. They had like a 4 or 5 year window of really being in the thick of things for a long time and firmly being in the mix. So they were there for that pile of time. Who knows on this team? But the thing you feel good about is Garrett Wilson's a stud. AVT's a stud. Brees Hall's a stud. Sauce Gardner's a stud. And we could go through all these guys, and these guys are all incredibly young. However, you want to take advantage. You don't want to waste years. So, yes, to me, to my father's point, the acceleration of finding that quarterback and taking advantage what you have to get as many whacks at the bat would be very important for me if I'm the Jets. Let's see. F. Mayfield, wow, you guys are passionate. Moore is no joke. Wilson Moore will be a good 1-2 punch. Jose Garcia, I really, truly believe that. Infrared 09. The freaking offensive line better step the F up. 100%. Both for running game and pass protection, for sure. Let's go to this guy. Stop. Just stop. The kid's ribs are busted. Stop one sack. He's back on the bench. Again, he was cleared by both his own doctors and the Jets doctors, but they do got to protect him for sure. Let's keep going. Joe Campione. He says, sign wide, draft Hendon Hooker. I'm getting a Watson feel from Hooker. Yeah, I am too. He's an older player, going to be 25 by the start of the draft process. He's coming off a torn ACL, so he's going to have to redshirt his rookie year. How far he falls to the draft will be fascinating to me. Again, if he's on day 3, I'm all aboard. Let's take a dive. But if he's not, then I'm not cool taking a guy like on the first or second round because I think there's other holes on the team, offensive line, safety, stuff like that. But I like the thought there. Renting a quarterback like Brady is not the way I remember Favre. Favre, well, that season was 8-3. It didn't work out well, and I don't think you can be afraid to make things happen. Like just because you got burned once in a totally different scenario 15 years ago, I don't think that can like scare you from doing it again with a new regime and different talent. But that's interesting. Prairie, money might be an issue with signing a top quarterback. A lot of people may perceive it that way. The Jets currently have $15 million in cap space. That's 15th in the NFL right now. But there's a couple of moves they can make. They can move on from Corey Davis. That would save $9 million. They can move on from Carl Lawson. That would save another $15 million. There are moves to be made. But CJ Mosley restructure. There are moves to be made to create more cap space. So I wouldn't be totally lost on that. But that they don't have as much money as they used to. John O'Sullivan, what is Zach Wilson's trade value? 0, later mid-round pick. Again, to me, this is me. I haven't talked to anyone about it yet. This is just off the top of my head. If Sam Darnold went for a 2, 4, and a 6 in 3 years of playing, I think Zach Wilson could go for sort of that package. Now, Sam Darnold, some people would say, showed a little bit more than Zach Wilson has. He's also had another year to show that. I think someone is going to be convinced that they can get the most out of Zach Wilson. Now, again, I don't think it's going to be a first-round pick, but I definitely don't think it's a 7th-round pick. I think it's a multi-pick combination. I could see like a 2, 4, and a 6, which is similar exactly what Darnold got, or like maybe a 3, 4, 5. Like there's something in there. I think someone's going to take a gamble in that world. But we'll see. I could be wrong. Some people are really questioning that value. You're lucky to get a 3rd-round pick. Let's see. Mr. Bonesy, I don't want to talk about next year's quarterback situation until we watch Mike White these next 2 games via the playoffs. 100%. I will answer all your questions on that, but I agree. I am all for this year, and let's go all in, baby. Richie B, a longtime fan of the Jet Zone. I think Joe D is going to take another swing on a first-round guy with potential trade for Jordan Love. Mike White and Love will be battling out in camp, and Zach will be in Green Bay. That would be fascinating. Like the Packers are another perfect example of a team that I could see throwing the rock at Zach Wilson for a potential trade. Rico the Pup. Jordan Love would be a super intriguing star. Another guy that I feel meh about is Ryan Tannehill. Say what you want about him. He knows how to feed his number 1 receiver. True. He has $27 million unguaranteed for next year. I believe that's the last year of his deal. And I talked to Titans people. They said he could be had for around a 3rd-round pick. So that could be a situation potentially you want to go for. Ricky J, 49ers didn't even want to move up for Zach. They actually did. And the Jets obviously were at 2. The highest they could get is 3. The Jets were not willing to move off that. And the Eagles also wanted Zach Wilson. So I'd push back on that, Ricky, from what I've heard. Both the 49ers and Eagles were interested, but the Jets fell in love, essentially, with Zach Wilson. Let's go to Mr. Rodriguez here. Would Jets bring back Sam Darnold? I don't think so. I mean, anything's possible. And Joe Douglas proved that, like, he doesn't care about, like, perceptions. Like, he made a trade with the New England Patriots. And most Jets people would say you can never trade with the New England Patriots. And he traded with the Patriots. So maybe he doesn't care about some of those narratives, but I'd be surprised. B-Drill was always better. I did like B-Drill. I also like the B-Drill Pokemon episode, which was really good. That was a good Pokemon episode. There was also with AJ the trainer. He's going for like 100 wins before he went on his quest. It's another one. Ooh, Mr. Bones, I got the D. Milner in the closet, Paul. I don't have a D. Milner. A couple off the top of my head, Jets, bust jerseys in my closet, but I wear them like as a source of pride now. Like, I don't burn jerseys or throw away jerseys or anything like that. Vernon Golston, Jason Morrow. I do not have a Christian Hackenberg, thank God. But yeah, Jason Morrow, Vernon Golston. Those are probably the worst. I'd have to keep looking, but those are probably the worst, I would imagine, off the top of my head. But yeah, they've got a history. Jets have given me plenty of material on that as well. Let's see. Let's do a JETS. A lot of love here. I'm on my own streak. Jets game watched in December. I love that. Okay. Zach mom needs to STFU. I will say, by the way, all the fans have been reaching out to Zach Wilson's mom. That's not true. Apparently someone made that up. Zach Wilson's mom said those were just made up Photoshop photos. So fans are not actually reaching out to Zach Wilson's mom to make fun of Zach Wilson. So for those, that was all false rumors, but just wanted to throw that out there. Paul E. Esden Sr., this next game should be Gino's revenge. Maybe Pete Carroll's revenge as well. Remember, the Jets fired him in the 90s. So I will tweet out a clip about that. Apparently, Pete Carroll was asked about that earlier today. That's kind of funny. Let's keep going here. Let me try to catch up with these comments before we say sayonara here on holiday week. We're a quarterback away from reaching the Super Bowl. Muhammad jumping in here. Go for the best option. Not unlimited like Kara Minshew. Again, that's my take. Again, if you're going to take a whack, pick up the baseball bat and sack up. Don't just give me some underwhelming option personally from my standpoint. Let's go to Dog and Varrock. Did you hear about Tua concussion? So he probably won't be in this week against the Patriots. Hopefully Teddy Bridgewater can handle business against him. Yeah, that's true. His status is in doubt, and there's obviously with the concussion history there's a big chance that Teddy steps in there from that perspective. And to be honest, Teddy won't throw the picks, so I don't think the Patriots are going to get those opportunities. Now, can he have the same explosive plays that Tua's had with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle? That's a big question, but he won't throw the picks. He does not throw interceptions. He is, again, Teddy Checkdown was his nickname. So I imagine it actually will help the Dolphins more than hurt them as long as their defense can step up, and they look pretty good in different spots. Muhammad, go aggressive or go home. Go for Lamar next year. Am I nuts? I mean, I would do it. I would call the Ravens, give them anything they wanted. Multiple firsts, the fully guaranteed contract for Lamar. I'd do all that. But again, to be real with me, you, and everyone else in the room, the only way the Ravens do this is if Lamar says, you can franchise tag me all you want. I'm never playing another down for the Ravens, and I'm going to burn every bridge on the way out. But I don't know if he does that. I don't know Lamar personally, but my gut would say that's not very realistic. But hey, I'm all about it. Hey, might as well, make the call. What can you lose? Let's go through the final couple comments here. Jose Garcia, Flacco being the backup means you don't need to change the offensive play calls much. That's also true. Muhammad, Zach has to sit for 2 years. Yeah, he may. And again, if he went to a team like the Chiefs, he could just be cryogenically frozen as a third string and have no pressure. That's possible. Spin Max Dave. There it is. Jets lose in December. Suck. Now the Jet fans are sucked back in for meaningful January football. Who would have thought, Spin Max Dave? It's a wild world we're in. Very wild world. Let's talk Andrew Luck out of retirement. I have not heard this one, Duke. Credit to you. I've heard almost every quarterback scenario. That was not on my bingo card so far. So that's funny. Jim Page, who do you root for, Pats or Fins? You want the Dolphins to win because you want to remove the Patriots off the board. The Jets have the tiebreaker with the Dolphins, and now there's only one game of separation, and you play them. Of course, the Jets had to beat Seattle, but you can make up the difference in the final game of the season. So we should all be rooting for Dolphins to beat the Patriots. That takes them off the board. They've swept the Jets, so in any scenario they tie with the Jets, that's not good news for New York. So we are all big Dolphins fans this weekend after being Packers fans this past weekend. It's a complicated game, but that's the truth. So we should all be doing it as well. Jim Page, does it matter if the Chargers win tonight? Here it is. It's a minuscule development. If the Chargers win, they punch their own ticket to the playoffs. If they lose, the Jets are increased by a little bit in terms of the percentage points, but we need an absolute epic collapse from the Chargers throughout this entire rest of the season to have any chance for that to matter for the Jets. So does it matter? Sort of, but not really. The real path for the Jets is winning their 2 games and Patriots losing one of their 2, and they play the Dolphins and the Bills in back-to-back games. That's the real path. The other paths are where you kind of get crazy conspiracy tinfoil on the head. To me, the most realistic way is Jets winning their 2, Patriots losing one of their 2. That's the path. And the Jets will be in the playoffs if those 2 things happen. Okay. Miguel, there's no way that Barry should be on the field over Mims. Mims, by the way, was out with a concussion, so maybe he's back. So it's possible. Dan in New York, I'd be totally cool rolling Mike White, Minshew, Jimmy G in 2023. I don't know if that's realistic with the money, but that could be very interesting. Muhammad, this team can win now. This team can beat anyone. It's an overreaction. Right now, unhealthy. We will see, obviously, especially with the Jets losing 4 in a row. It seems tough to envision that right now. But yes, earlier in the year, I definitely had that conversation. So it could be. You people are talking like Mike White is Tom Brady in disguise. Maybe he is. I don't think we know. But a lot of Mike White fans in here, which I love. All right, let's keep rolling. I need to make sure you smash the like button, guys. Yes, please do. Do your free part. Hit subscribe if you'd like for more juicy New York Jets content. We've had a lot of fun people here on a Monday night, which is a lot of fun. Thank you so much. Keeping Barrios on the punting team. That's where he belongs. Miguel. Yeah, he's a Pro Bowl alternate for the return game. I don't know how that happened, but hey, different strokes, different folks, I guess. Michael Clemens, what a steal. Yeah, he's been one of the highest rated rookie defensive linemen in the NFL this season by Pro Football Focus. So that's fantastic. The only way we get rid of Zach is if we sign Rodgers again. Rodgers will have to be a trade, so that's possible. If we could trade Zach for Love, it shouldn't hesitate. Again, that would be interesting to make a potential swap of anybody. I'm sure the Packers would love that. But the other problem with that potentially Stanley man on our YouTube channel is Jordan Love is deeper in his rookie contract structure. I don't have that in front of me. My brain's not working of where he is in his rookie contract structure, but I believe he's probably a year ahead of Zach Wilson, which means you'll probably have to make that 5th-year option ahead of May. And are you willing to do that for a player that you haven't had in your own building? Although who would have more info on a Jordan Love than Mike LaFleur, who is brothers, of course, with Matt LaFleur. So that could be something as well. Jim Page, thanks for your commentary. Great show. Keep it up. Appreciate that, guys. Again, we stream live multiple times during the week, so feel free to continue to jump in, and you guys will never miss a video. We try to always cross-stream on the Heavy on Jets Facebook page, but that's not always the case with our schedule on the Facebook page. So if you never want to miss a video in general, we're always streaming on youtube.com. So again, like the video, hit subscribe down below, and also hit that bell notification. You guys will never miss a video. We got a jam-packed holiday week for you guys. We're going to have a Seattle Seahawks insider on later this week. We'll try to have on a Jets insider to talk about some of the Jets decisions, injuries, and a lot of that great nuggets as well. And hopefully you guys can join us for all that. Also, I was on the Jake Asman show. If you guys are Jake Asman fans, I was on for him for about an hour today. You guys can go check that out on his channel as well. But here's my lasting message to each and every one of you who are watching right now. The Jets are in the thick of the playoffs, baby. Enjoy this moment. Obviously, over the last 11 years, we haven't had a lot of these moments to kind of enjoy during this playoff drought. So we have games. They matter. Let's get hyped up, and we should have a lot of fun. Mike effing White, baby. Let's go do this thing. So thanks, everybody, for tuning in, and we will see you guys later this week right here on the channel. Thanks, everybody. Peace.